Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargav, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we will talk about the problems that children are facing in Assam because they have been left out of the NRC. We will also talk about the Dalit youth from Tamil Nadu who was lynched when he stopped by the road to defecate. But first, we talk about the Jamia Millia Islamia University in Delhi. At around 1 a.m. on Sunday, a video was posted by the Jamia Coordination Committee on Twitter. In this video, one can see police beating up students who are sitting inside the university's library. The video and the incident in question dates back to the 15th of December last year, when protests by the university students against the Citizenship Amendment Act had turned violent and police had clamped down on the university. The incident had left several students injured. The video now raises questions about police behavior and allegations that the Delhi police had earlier denied. Aranya, Shankar, and Somya Lakhani, who reported on this story, join us on a call to talk about it. Hi, Somya. Hi, Aranya.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so December 15th, that is when there was a clampdown by the police inside the Jamia campus. That day, there was stone pelting. Both sides seemed to have engaged in that. There was also public property that was destroyed, buses that were set on fire. A lot of students had been detained. And this entire clampdown protest, this is the one that had actually intensified a lot of other protests that have taken place since across the country against NRC and CAA. The Jamia students at the time had said that the police had attacked them inside the library and actually beaten them. There was also tear gas that had been deployed within the library. When these allegations came out that time, what had the police said about them?
So, at that time when the allegations had come out, the Delhi police had maintained that, we didn't enter the library or that, this was minimum force that had been applied. They also said that, this was done because rioters who they sort of also tried to hint were not students, but rioters in general who had burnt buses and pelted stones at the cops had rushed inside the university and that, they rushed in pursuit of them. So at that time, the Delhi police had maintained that they didn't go inside the library, they did not beat up students. But of course, there were contrary claims that were coming from the students. Aranya had covered it at the time, and there were at least 100 students who had been injured through the day. And there were a lot of students who said that there were a lot of testimonies of students who said that we have been beaten up by police personnel and CRPF personnel inside the library, that, we were just sitting there, we were just studying there. So the claims were always there. There were some videos that you saw of outside the library. There were these very shaky videos that had come out of people's cell phones, which we had also seen. But police had maintained that, they didn't enter the library. But that was what they had said in December. Since Sunday, at least 3 videos had come out. Between Sunday and Monday morning, there were 3 videos that had come out, which showed that the Delhi police does enter an old library inside the Jamia campus. You can see them lathi charging people who are studying, students who are studying. There are students who are holding books and, they're sort of waving the book in their hand and trying to say that, hey, you know what, I'm studying, to sort of protect themselves. But you do see force, and these are students who are just sitting. So, obviously the video has sort of nailed the official denial, which is the line that Aranya and I have gone ahead with in our story as well.
So there were a lot of, like you say, students that were injured during that day. Aranya, do we have a count of how many students were injured and the kind of injuries they suffered?
So we don't have an exact number, but at least 120, 125 students, protesters were injured that day, many of whom were hospitalized. In fact, at that time, there were reports of gunshot injuries, which the police had denied. But later, one of our reporters, Mahinder Singh Manral, who covers crime, had done a story how the internal probe had found that 3 shots were fired, of which 2 students of Jamia received gunshot injuries as well. And another student called Minhajuddin even lost his eyesight. He lost vision in his left eye during the protest. There were several students who got fractures in both their arms or both their legs. So there were pretty serious injuries.
Somya, how have the police reacted to this video now, where you can see the police clearly beating up the students in the library?
So Delhi police obviously initially denied entering the library, but once the video came out, they said that, oh, we're verifying the video, this could have been edited. So what we had done at the Indian Express was we reached out to the top brass of the Delhi police. So from the Commissioner of Police to Special CP to the DCP, Joint CP, the former DCP of Southeast District, which is Mr. Chinmoy Biswal. We also reached out to the CRPF to find out, what their explanation for this video is. And, now they've said that, for instance, what the Special CP client told me, his name is Arun Janardhanan, he said that, we kept asking Jamia for the footage, but they took a long time to give us the footage. And maybe it's doctored, so we need to verify this. Another thing that Mr. Ranjan said was that the Delhi police stands by its position that they entered Jamia in hot pursuit. Now, hot pursuit, by that what they mean is that these are rioters who were outside burning buses, throwing petrol bombs, pelting stones at the cops. And that, once they ran inside the university, we had no option except entering the university. The first video was of students being lathi charged, which was on Sunday night at about 1:30 a.m. By Sunday afternoon, more videos had started coming out, at least 2 more videos which showed that the students were rushing inside the library. The protesters were rushing inside the library. Some of them are masked. And, there's one protester who's holding something in his hand. And automatically you see people jumping to the conclusion, especially the BJP IT cell to some extent, jumping to the conclusion that it's a stone, that this is a man who's armed. And Delhi police is also going by that stance. They are saying that they were ready, they were prepared. Look at them, they're armed. And, we had no option but doing this. But I still think that there is nothing that sort of justifies this kind of brute force that has been used by the police. Then again on Monday morning today, there was another video that came out, which is actually a longer video. It's about 5 minutes long. And it shows students are just pleading, their girls who are holding their, who are sort of requesting the police personnel at the time to allow them to leave the library. Then there's police that is, just hitting them with lathi. You can see the fear and terror in the eyes of the people who are inside the library. And then towards the end, once the students are not able to get out, finally they are. And then you can see a police personnel breaking the CCTV. So, every day there are news that are being raised on what exactly went down on December 15th. Because, from saying that we didn't enter library to videos coming out to saying that we use minimum force to video showing such brute force, there are plenty questions that the Delhi police has to answer.
Have we seen the Delhi government say anything about it or any other political parties responding to this incident?
The Delhi government hasn't said anything about this, nor has the party in power, Aam Aadmi Party, but the Congress, the CPM and the BJP have commented on this in their various capacities. So naturally, as one would expect, the Congress and CPM are blaming the Home Ministry directly since the Delhi police is under them. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra yesterday tweeted saying that the video clearly shows that they've been lying about not entering the university. And the fact that the police comes under the Home Ministry means there should be some action taken against them. And if it isn't, then it will show the government's intention quite clearly. Even Sitaram Yechury, the CPM General Secretary, said the same thing, that this is a politically motivated thing and that the police comes under Modi and Shah. So there has to be action taken on the police. Amit Malviya, on the other hand, from BJP, has been questioning the veracity of the videos and playing into the whole how the police is saying that there were rioters and there were stone pelters who entered the library premises and sat inside. So his tweets have been more along the line of actually questioning the video and how true they are. I just also wanted to add one more thing, which is that to enter the library, not only do you need to show your iCard at the gate of the library, but also right outside the library, your identity cards are checked. So students are making the claim that it's very difficult for an outsider not only just to enter the campus, but to enter the library even more so, since there is a two-way checking process. So that's a question mark on the police version of events that outsiders were inside the library. I think also one point that we missed that I think needs to be mentioned is that the Jamia administration, including the Vice Chancellor, has from the beginning maintained that the police did not have permission to enter the campus that night. That is something that they've reiterated again and again and even filed a complaint. And whether it's the complaint of the Jamia University or a complaint filed by individual students themselves, none of them have been turned into FIRs till now.
So the matter is sub judice because, like Aranya mentioned, the Jamia administration students, they'd all applied that, at least there should be an FIR against the police. But it's been 2 months. There has been no FIR. The matter is in court. It's sub judice. So let's see. But, one is hoping that, after these videos come out, at least, they're not permissible in court, I'm assuming, but at least they would have some impact. And, they did remove Chinmoy Biswal, who was the DCP. The Election Commission did remove Aranya, if I've got it right, during the assembly elections. They did remove him and they did bring in a new DCP. But I don't think that's corrective enough.
Next, we talk about the National Register of Citizens, or NRC. The NRC exercise in Assam, which was completed on the 31st of August last year, had excluded around 19 lakh people from the final list, putting their citizenship under question. Among the people that were excluded from the NRC were also a number of children whose parents had been included, but they weren't. That means the state had proof that their parents were Indian citizens, but didn't have proof that they were. Since then, the conversation has moved on to the Citizenship Amendment Act and a proposed nationwide NRC. But the Assam NRC hangs in a limbo. People, including these children, have not been given any update about the situation. Tora Agarwala, who's been reporting on the NRC, joins us on a call from Guwahati to talk about the problems that these children have been facing because of it and how ill-equipped the system is to deal with this situation. Tora, you recently wrote about children, basically minors, who have been left out of the NRC in Assam. And these are children whose parents have made it to the NRC, but they haven't. How many of such cases exist? And what has been the primary reason for them not making into the NRC?
So there's no number to determine how many children or how many cases there are like this. Recently, an NGO had done a sort of survey and they had approached the Supreme Court with a number of 61 children whose parents were in, but they were out. But on the ground, this could be much, much more. And only like a proper, survey to determine this. We don't have a number, but it is quite a lot. And your second question is why this is happening? Well, on the face of it, there is no reason for this to be happening at all. And it has to be a mistake because even in July 2018, when the draft NRC had come out, and even then, there were a lot of children whose names were out, but whose parents were in. And the months which followed, for the claims process, the NRC authority said that in such cases, children who are under 14, their parents can provide an oral or a written affidavit or a statement and just say that, this so-and-so is my kid. And since I'm in the NRC, even he or she should be. Despite this rule, even in the final list which came out in August 2019, a lot of kids are out. So it has to be some sort of mistake. That's the only explanation.
What has the centre and the Assam government said about such cases?
On Jan 6th, the centre assured the Supreme Court that children whose parents are in and they are out, those children won't be sent to detention centre. And even more recently, during a question session in the Lok Sabha, another minister had also assured the same thing, that children, if they're out of the NRC and their parents are in, they won't be separated and they won't be sent to the detention center. While, that's well and good because it's a good thing if children are not sent to the detention center. But the thing is, neither the court nor the government has assured anything about children being sent to foreigners' tribunals. Now, we all know that to go to the detention center, the step preceding that is defending your citizenship in a court called the Foreigners' Tribunal, where that is the ultimate authority to tell you whether you are an Indian or you are a foreigner. So once you're excluded from the NRC, the next recourse is to approach a Foreigners' Tribunal, and that's where the ultimate test happens. And after that, you're adjudged Indian or foreigner. Now, there's no order, there's no notification, or there's no assurance that these kids are not going to be sent to the Foreigners' Tribunal. Now, for a minor to go to a hearing and defend his or her citizenship, if no relief is provided from that, then I don't think this whole not being sent to detention really is relief.
You actually spoke to a number of these children who, are in this position. What has been their experience since, the final list came out last year in August? How have they dealt with it?
See, now, the Supreme Court and the center, they might give hundreds of judgments saying, nothing will happen, they shouldn't worry. But at the end of the day, we should remember that these are children and they live in villages all over Assam. And news like this doesn't reach them, or even if it does not mean much to them. First of all, they're really young. Secondly, because their name is not there, it's also some sort of stigma, because I spoke to a lot of kids who admitted that, they're usually bullied or, taunted or jeered at by their neighbors who say that, oh, you'll be picked up and you'll be taken away to Bangladesh, or, oh, you'll be taken away to a jail. So most of them are scared. And even months later, right now, the NRC list is in sort of a limbo over here, because after August, nothing has happened with regard to those 19 lakh who are out. Even now, many kids, even when they think of what happened before, they start crying, because, I met one child who was fine. She was happy and talking and playing. And then her father started recounting what had happened at a hearing. And then she suddenly burst into tears because she thought I was there to take her to a detention center. So that fear is very much there. And this child was just 10 years old, I think. And another girl I met, she's 14 or 15. And she also kept crying because everyone else in her family, all her brothers, sisters, her parents, everyone's in and she's out. She worries about her future. She worries about studies. So, that fear is very much there, because for them, it just means that, they are out of this list where everyone else is supposed to be in. Right. So even if they don't understand the technicalities of it or why this list is being made or what it means, for them, they're not in the list. So that's a bad thing. I spoke to a number of psychologists, and even they told me that if they can sense that their parents are worried about something, it's very natural for the children to also feel the same way about it, because that sort of anxiety or stress gets transferred to the child. For teenagers especially, like at that age, you want to fit in and you want to be same as your peer circle, right? But when they're not in the NRC, it means that they are different from these other people around them. Another boy I spoke to, he told me that, he and his brother are out, but they have sort of kept this a secret and not told anyone in school about their NRC status, because he fears that, they might be teased or they might be made fun of.
The system that is in place for those, like you mentioned, that's not included in the NRC, going to the hearings, foreign tribunal, detention camps, of course. To what extent do we see the system being sort of prepared for children going through this process?
Not at all. Actually, see, first of all, the fact that all these children are so worried and so scared, they should be counseled. And, at the block level and at the district level, there should be booths which are sort of taking care of this or even addressing these questions. But none of that is happening. So the Assam State Commission for Protection of Child Rights, I called them up to ask, what they're doing about this. And the chairman told me that none of these cases have been reported to them, so they haven't done anything about it. That way, people haven't really looked into all these problems. And also, this I forgot to mention earlier, but many children have dropped out of school because of this, not just because they are not in the NRC, but because sometimes their parents have been taken into detention, and then the eldest of the family becomes the breadwinner. And as a result, he or she drops out of school, and then the younger siblings also follow suit. So education is one area which is getting really affected by this. So I spoke to another child rights activist, and he had a lot of valid questions. That were these foreigners tribunals, if children had to go to them at all? Are these courts child-friendly? Have the judges in the foreigners tribunals, have they been trained in how to deal with children? So this sort of basically violates all the basic child rights which are in place in India. When this whole NRC exercise was planned, I don't think much thought was put into the impact it might have on kids. That is why we are at this stage today where you go to a village and a child bursts into tears thinking, she will be picked up and taken away to detention, any moment.
Do we know about any instances of minors that have been sent to detention camps?
So the rules for detention center is that, a child who's under 5 has to accompany the mother to detention. So if the mother is going to detention and she has a child who is under 5, that child accompanies the mother. There were some RTIs filed earlier about the number of children in detention. So children are not sent to detention alone. They are sent only if their parents are going and they are too young and they can't be left behind at home with relatives to take care of them. I can't be sure of the number right now, but there are above 20 children in detention, either living with their mother or with their father in the 6 district jails in Assam. And in 2012, there is a case of one infant dying in a detention center, but later the mother was declared Indian. So she lost a child while she was in detention. I mean, she is right now, living outside detention and she's Indian. So she was put in wrongfully in the first place.
And in the end, we talk about the case of the 24-year-old Dalit youth in Tamil Nadu named R. Shaktivel, who was lynched when he squatted by the road to defecate. While the incident took place last week on Wednesday, the police arrested 7 people on Friday, around 2 days later, after videos of him being tortured were circulated on social media. Those who had attacked him had been from a village that is dominated by Vanyars, an OBC community in northern Tamil Nadu, whose members are known to share an open animosity towards Dalits. In this segment, Arun Janardhanan, who reported on the story, joins us to talk about the complicated ways in which caste hierarchies work in the region and what led to this particular incident.
This happened on Wednesday afternoon. The victim, Mr. Shaktivel, he was 23-year-old. He was working with the petrol bunk near Viluppuram, about 30 kilometers away from his house near Tiruvannamalai town. So he was actually, according to his family and the people we spoke in that neighborhood, he was on night duty on last Tuesday night. And he reached home on Wednesday morning. And then he received a call from his colleagues saying that he has to come with his Aadhaar card and photos for a verification. So he had to go back to work within few hours. Around noon, he left home. And in between, the vehicle had no fuel. So he called his elder sister saying that, there is a problem. And he asked one of his friends to come with petrol. Meantime, he was actually pushing the two-wheeler. And he also told his sister that, he had an urge to defecate and he may find a place on the way, obviously by the roadside. After an hour, she received a call from his number, and the person who dialed her was not Shaktivel, but a stranger. He informed her that her brother is in their custody. He's been tied up for some misbehavior, and she was asked to come and take him. So she rushed to the spot with her relative boy and her 6-month-old baby. When she reached there, they escalated the kind of behavior. He was bleeding already. He was being beaten up. And when she tried to stop them, she was also beaten up and the baby fell on the ground. According to victim's elder sister and police, there were some 15 to 20 people of that particular village who surrounded him and who led this lynching. What happened was there were people who clicked photos of this man who was, whose legs and hands were tied up. So these were being circulated in social media, and we can figure out from these photographs as well as from the witness statements that, he was being badly beaten up and kicked and with sticks and all. He had injuries. He probably had severe internal injuries, and he was technically, according to the hospital, he died of heart attack, but there was signs of torture on his body by not less than 15 people. 7 people have been arrested by police on Friday, all of them including 3 women and 4 men. And according to them, the charge was that he misbehaved with a village woman, and she immediately alerted people in the neighborhood. So interestingly, Shaktivel belongs to a scheduled caste community. He comes from a very poor family where he was the sole breadwinner. His parents are farm laborers who may or may not have a regular income. At the same time, the people who gathered at this spot to torture him were also, in fact, workers. They are upper caste. They are relatively upper caste. This particular village was a stronghold of Vanyar community. Vanyars are most backward community, a little above Dalits in the caste hierarchy, but still they were also very poor people. They were laborers, and they were all being gathered from the field, the places where they have been doing farm work when they got this alert and they gathered and attacked him. Yeah. Actually, there were many incidents to say that the Dalit communities have faced a lot of attacks, faced a lot of riots from the side of Vanyar community in the past. Especially there is a political party called PMK, Patali Makal Kachi, who actually commands the vote bank of this particular OBC community. At the same time, when we know that there is a powerful OBC political space in Tamil Nadu, and most of these OBC communities, including Vanyars and Tevas and Gaunders, most of them are politically and socially powerful. That doesn't mean that the community is so empowered, because if you go to villages, you can see that an average OBC family also lives the life of a Dalit. Or the other way, if we can say that the larger issues of employment and revenue, mobility, all these problems affect the same OBCs also. So that is why in the previous question I said that the people who lynched this man, especially because he was a Dalit, they were also not very rich people. They were farm laborers. They also come from very poor background. But what drives them is their caste pride, which when the elder sister of the victim who witnessed this torture told me that they wouldn't have killed him, they wouldn't have tortured him that much if he was not a Dalit. That is a complex character of these kind of incidents.
You were listening to Three Things by the Indian Express. Today's show, as always, was edited and mixed by our producer Joshua Thomas. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.